that was, by the way, Ben. Of course, Paul used to be on that team as well, and a few more absolutely.
What would the world be like today if TSL were still a thing?
And playing in Pro League.
And they had Hyun, and they had Revival.
And
who else did they have?
They had a fantastic... Was Bomber ever on TSL? No. I know, like, I'm missing 2 players right now.
Okay, since you're observing, I'm going to actually tab out here and do a little bit of a Wikipedia search.
Either way, TSL was such a sick team. Those fancy white hoodies. They had one more...
Team SCV Life?
Yes. They had some high Terran other than Paul.
Symbol they had?
Oh yeah, they had Symbol. The man who has had like 9 Codas runs to the round of 16.
They also had, listen to this, they had Puma, Fruit Dealer, Alive, and...
Alive was the one I was thinking of.
Like, look at all the champions. Puma, 3-time champion at least. He won 2 NASLs and an IEM.
One IEM, one a DreamHack? Runner-up of DreamHack.
TSL also had JYP at one point.
Yeah, what a team.
They had Tasteless and Artosis' favorite player, Clyde.
Yeah. Best player in the world.
They had Rain, the Terran player Rain.
And of course they had Hyun and Revival. Hyun, you know, they had a very different route to where they are right now, but I would even say right now they are in very different places in their career. Of course, Hyun is on the left top side of the map, off Frost, and Revival is our Blue Zerg spawning in the right bottom side. But there was a time that neither of these 2 guys were considered as international superstars.
Can you believe it?
Yep, they were, you know, just kind of grinding online tournaments. Yes, that's right. These, you know, that we got to know as Code S stars, or at least Zerg stars that are traveling around the world and making deep runs in IEMs or winning them, making deep runs in MLGs, making deep runs in DreamHack events like Hyun has done, and he even won a DreamHack as well. These 2 guys in 2012, all they were doing were playing online cups, and they were successful.
If you played Playham or Zotac or Go for SC2, then
then you have lost against Hyun or Revival.
Your goal was literally to play until you hit that guy in the bracket, and then say to hell with it, go get a beer.
You know, Playhams were played pretty often, but Hyun and Revival have a combined of over 140 finishes in top 3 of those tournaments. Both of them have around, I think Revival has won 52 of them. Hyun has won like 41 of them, and they got a bunch of 2nd and 3rd place finishes as well. It was even so funny that at a certain point it felt like they had a mutual agreement. Alright, you win that one, I win that one, good luck buddy, let's earn some money today. And it's really cool to see that these 2 guys that were grinding all those online tournaments eventually grew into the Zerg stars that we kind of know them of 2013. Both of them had a very successful 2013, by far the best year of their career. But still, right now Hyun picked up by Rocket, having a personal sponsorship. Hopefully that works out great for him. Revival, on the other hand, Ben, after the most successful year of his career, got dropped by EG and is currently teamless.
A little bit hard to believe, and he's perhaps got a lot to lose and a lot to prove here in the first WCS America of 2014. He's always been very good at ZVZ, and that's going to be important here, but he finds himself against an opponent who is familiar with him, who they've probably played hundreds of practice games in the past.
Yeah, these 2 guys must know each other so well.
This is going to be such a mind game, this entire matchup.
But since they took such a different route to where they are right now, I am not sure. Like, if they would have played against each other a year ago, I'm sure they could have dreamed each other's openings. How close are they right now? Like, you know, what has Revival been doing lately? I wouldn't be able to tell you, man. Revival, of course, the player that got so close to making it to BlizzCon last year.
Those Happy Queens.
Oh, that Happy
a little bit too adventurous, and they're going to give a free scout. So Revival's going to see that Hyun is gasless, and you know, that's not a big deal because Revival was also gasless, both players adding their gases at the same time. So for all their history, these guys have chosen 2 identical build orders for game number 1 of their best of 3.
Yep. Right now, the only thing that we see on the production tab are drones and extractors. Just to talk a little bit more about the successful 2013 for both these players. Of course, Hyun finally winning his first tournament by winning a DreamHack. Had good runs at MLG as well. Finished 2nd. Had a good run at the Intel Extreme Masters, where I think he finished top 4. Of course, Revival was the runner-up of WCS America Season 1, where he lost in the final against Liquid Hero, but that was still a fantastic run. And last but not least, later on in that year, we finally saw Revival winning his first international tournament at the Intel Extreme Masters of Shanghai, when he defeated his teammate Oz 4-2 in the final. Yep. Overall, very good year for both of them.
Incidentally, a very good year for EG. And whenever you have guys going 1-2 at major events, it's a happy time.
That was the first time ever in, I read that at the Team Liquid article, but it was the first time ever that EG finished 1st and 2nd in a tournament.
Roach Warrens and Evo Chambers going down for both of our players. These queens were on a hell of an adventure.
Yeah, man, both queens. They're not afraid to...
and look at Hyun's queens. Is that them in the middle of the map?
These queens are going to fight each other soon.
The battle of the queens. Who can transfuse better?
Still no Zergling speed on the way for Hyun, which of course means that he's going into Roaches. Roach 1 is about to finish up and he's already firing off +1 missile attacks.
How identical are these two builds? It's just almost down to a T. We have a few small variations as we see Revival getting a couple of lings earlier. Hyun's attack upgrades a little bit faster, layer timing seconds off. But otherwise, pretty much the same thing.
So the only thing that's really different right now is that Revival ban, research speed, and mate speed links. And he's gonna have to do something with them, because of course he's down 8 drones right now. There are 5, 6, 7 roaches on the production tab for Hyun.
This is gonna work. Revival's gonna deal some damage at this third expansion. There's just queens here.
The roaches are about to spawn though. They need to do quite a bit of damage, Ben.
Well, with transfusion, it's hard to say.
The first roach is here, and the other roaches are going to be here real soon.
Oh, great transfuse. Last second transfusions.
I don't think that
the queens ultimately are going to go down, but it looks like most of the drones are going to be preserved.
We still have 21 Zerglings, more Zerglings streaming across the map, more roaches should spawn in the near future as well though. However, Revival splitting up his units, he's going to try to pick down or focus down as many drones as possible.
This is good control from both sides.
Yeah, it's very even I think, man. Despite there being of course a variation in the builds right now, I think the state of the game is still very even. Revival
killed a grand total of 3 drones, and there are 3 drones separating the harvester counts right now, 48 to 51.
Yeah, in favor of Revival.
That's pretty awesome to see. Hyun, because he skipped those lings, makes the transition over to roaches a little bit faster. He has 18 roaches out to Revival's 9 right now, but there's not really any chance of him marching across the map and doing damage, because roaches just aren't that fast, even with the speed upgrade.
A lot of roaches on the production tab right now for Revival, while we see a lot of drones on the production tab for Hyun. +1 is ready, and the +1 armor is ready on both sides as well. Hyun did of course start roach production a little quicker.
Hyun has got to be very careful not to overextend with this pack of roaches. If he gets surrounded by speedlings and then killed by his opponent's roaches, he's going to find himself in a very difficult position, and he is pushing all the way to the edge of Revival's creep. This is a dangerous game you're playing, Hyun. And he sees that he is outnumbered. Lings will try to wrap around, and he's going to lose at least a couple roaches here.
Yeah, 9 Zerglings are annoying enough, man. They can block these roaches for a little bit. Revival doing a fantastic job in slowing down those roaches, and right now the roach count is slightly in favor of Revival.
Warcraft 3 micro right there. Using Lings to slow everything down, and Hyun does take quite some losses. Finally, he's able to join up with his reinforcements and push back Revival, but it was not a free exchange. If we look at resources lost, we can see that Hyun, after that fight, has lost ever so slightly more than his opponent.
No +2 armor on the way just yet for Revival. I wonder if you forgot about it then. I'm almost starting to feel that way. He's still making a lot of roaches, and I think he's going to try to put on some real pressure right now. He's 11 roaches ahead, but we all know, being the defensive player in ZVC, that is something that you are able to overcome, especially with a little bit of transfuse here and there as well. There are only 3 queens out on the map for Hyun though, so he's going to have to put his units in an excellent position.
Revival's bringing his extra queens with the army, so that's going to give him some extra transfusion that essentially bolsters his roach numbers.
I was like, why is this queen frozen on the production tab? This makes no sense. But it was contaminated.
Roddy's favorite, least used spell.
Yeah. Still think it has a lot of potential, man. 49 against 41. Defensive against aggressive, but +2 armor is on the way for Hyun. If Hyun survives, then he should be in a good position.
This is the wrong fight for Hyun to take, but we're going to have to wait and see. Revival's got a lot of transfuse, and that's going to keep a few of these roaches alive. And look at the excellent fight here for Revival. He's got the larger roach count. Hyun has the much smaller reinforced distance. Look at the flank from Hyun. It's like a roach paperclip.
Like, I flank you, you flank me, let's go back to fighting in a line. But the roach numbers are still heavily in favor of Revival though. It's 33 against 22 roaches. That looks really good, man.
Yep, and Hyun needs reinforcements. He has some hatching soon, and Revival, realizing it, is going to back off, and Defender's advantage is so key in Zerg versus Zerg. Hyun does force Revival back, and when his +2 finishes, he's going to have a phenomenal advantage.
Yeah, poor Revival, man. Never researched +2 armor. That has to be a mistake. Even though he did delay that 5th and 6th gas for a long time, Hyun is just mining off his 5th gas, but perhaps that is the gas. I mean, Revival doesn't have a whole lot of gas. If he wants to keep making roaches and without being interrupted, I guess he was never able to research that upgrade. Tunneling claws being researched right now for Hyun as well. That's sort of interesting. It can be very annoying with it in ZVZ.
He has perhaps noticed that Revival only has that single Overseer floating around, and by single I mean 2.
Double.
But only 1 with the army.
Only 1 with 5 eyes.
Hydra Den on the way right now for Revival, so he's going to begin transitioning into his higher tech of choice, as he's also taking his 4th expansion.
You think Revival knows, Ben, that he didn't research +2 armor? I have the feeling he just... Okay, now he fires it up.
Now he knows. Now he knows, and hopefully he is not too regretful.
If he gets a better engagement, it's not the end of the world, as we know that like positioning of the roaches can often be even more important than an upgrade, but it's not going to help him as another big fight is about to unfold over here at the 3rd base of Revival.
Kind of a bizarre engagement. Neither player able to fight with all of their roaches, and both sides just trying to micro back and keep as many units active as they possibly can. Hyun does have the better upgrades, but Revival with seemingly better numbers, and again that defender's advantage is able to chase Hyun away. Revival is going to luck out and see the Tunneling Claws research complete at the end of that fight, so that will immediately prompt extra Overseers at each of his expansions.
Worker count is still extremely even, but the Hydra then did finish up for Revival, so he's going to get a bunch of Hydras out soon. Grove Spines is on the way already. He's making a few drones as well. He has to be very careful. Overseer for Revival hatches on a perfect moment as he's going to see those burrowed roaches. It's going to freak him out a little bit because he knows that his 3rd base is very exposed right now, though. Well, at least I thought he knew.
You got to choose wisely in how you're going to defend this, and Revival so far has done a good job.
Oh, it's so frustrating. Ah, that's great movement so far from these roaches by Hyun. That's beautiful play, Ben. Without anything happening, Hyun is doing this fantastic.
Yep, a couple of roaches are going to try to sneak past into the main base. Revival has seen it, but he's losing this large fight at his 3rd base. And if he loses the battle here, then what does that mean for the game? Hyun's roaches do make it into the back of the main, but there are units here to defend. This is great multi-pronged attack and defense from both of these players.
These guys are so evenly matched. There's a reason why they sort of have the same history and perhaps even the same track record. Reinforcement spawning once more for Revival. It should sort of be enough to hang in there. His +2 armor is almost ready. He did take care of those roaches in the main, so now all he has to do is stabilize over here. And then he does have that hatchery advantage, Ben, because let's not forget, his 4th hatch might not be up and running right now, but it is up.
And it will soon be running. Hyun adopts his own 4th base. But it is substantially more delayed than Revival's.
No, he doesn't have burrow. He can't heal those roaches. That kind of hurts.
It sure does.
I would love to see him research burrow. He has gas.
It's going to give better longevity to the units of Hyun.
Doing this very good as well. Doesn't start shooting at those roaches immediately, but will stand on top of them. So he will be able to guarantee the kill on all 5 or 6 of them. Contaminate being used a lot by Hyun. That's why he's my boy, man.
He's going to find another fight, but immediately will be turned around. Revival not only has comparable numbers, but he's got Hydras in the army, and that makes his army a little bit more effective.
Hyun is getting Hydras as well, though. So I guess he's right now he's just going to fall back and relax for a while.
186 supply to 200, a very close game. It's so funny. We often say that in ZVZ, whoever attacks first loses. Hyun's been attacking almost all game long.
Revival made a big attack, too. Basically, both their attacks failed, so that statement is still true. Just neither of them lost hard enough to lose the game.
That's true. As Hyun will lose a couple roaches on this Zelnaga tower. Where are your Hydras, Hyun? They're back at his.
He's making some.
Back at his bases here.
It's gonna be so even. As most likely will just be another standoff. Burrow is being researched right now for Revival too, and I'm happy to see that because it's gonna help it a lot to after an engagement. Look at the difference, Ben. That's quite a bit of extra HP that Hyun has, but he can't engage like that.
It's a bad position for Hyun, but he does. Jockey for more in better position. Royal is going to force this fight, though, and it looks like he's got better numbers. Hyun took a lot of initial damage here, and it could prove to be very costly. His supply falling much more rapidly than Revival. But finally, we're starting to see the battle turn once more. And with Hyun's reinforcements very close by, Revival's going to be turned back.
Those Hydras were in beautiful position. At the same time, on the other side of the map, a couple of roaches tried to make something happen in the natural revive, but that didn't work. It started off fantastic for Revival, and I'm really happy that Hyun didn't commit to that very first bad engagement. He's like, alright, I'll take some free damage, but it's much better that I finally have my army in a good position. And then with the reinforcements streaming in, those Hydras were just you know, in a perfect position. They were out of range of all those roaches and out of the Hydras from Revival, and they were able to usher out so much damage.
Yeah, that's pretty great understanding as EVZ demonstrated there by Hyun. Most players would have taken that fight. I would have taken that fight, and I would have lost it.
I would have never got to that fight.
Now from here, Kev, there's a couple of final tech choices available to each of these players. You can go on up to Infestor and eventually even add Swarm Host if you want. Or you can go into Banelings from here. Banelings are actually surprisingly amazing against Roach Hydra.
Hyun has used Contaminate like non-stop throughout this entire game. I think he's casted it 7 or 8 times. I'm happy to see it. I think this is not necessarily the most effective matchup to use it, but it's definitely still effective. Slows down the larvae. If queens are in production, that's going to take a while. Look at all these overseers he has over here, Ben. He's just being such a nuisance.
Just one at a time, he's using his APM, and that time he made Changeling.
Yeah.
For anyone curious, what
great hype over there, Roddy.
What Contaminate does to a hatchery is it ceases the larva injection from actually progressing. So it theoretically would make you over time produce more units than your opponent.
And what happens with the units that are okay? If they're already in a cocoon, they obviously will spawn, right?
Correct.
But the queen will not.
Correct.
The queen is on hold.
Queen would be stopped. Research would be stopped. And the injected larva would be stopped.
Even the infestation pits, Ben, in a 22-minute game, which has been pretty back and forth, go down almost at identical moments. The one of Hyun is 25 seconds quicker, but considering the fact how this game has unfolded so far, I think that's that's kind of art on its own. It's 45 roaches against only 34, but the small Hydra advantage for Hyun. Why is Hyun down in units by so much? I don't understand.
I'm also a little bit unclear on this, as we see a huge fight shaping up, and look at the concave for Revival. Phenomenal position for Revival, overwhelming numbers for Revival, and that could actually be a game decider. Hyun's going to have to fall back and needs desperately to find some reinforcements. These Hydras are at risk of just outright dying, and Hyun is actually going to have to sacrifice more than just his army. He's going to pull drones off the line as well, and Revival doing some phenomenal damage here.
Yep, I do not really understand where he got those 11 extra roaches from, because everything else was kind of even. Eventually, Hyun will hang in there, but he lost a lot of drones, he lost all of those expensive Hydras, and that was a great victory for Revival. Very cool back and forth ZVZ so far. This is everything that I expected from this series, Ben. Been hyping it up a little bit. I was like, I can't wait to cast Revival versus Hyun. That should be awesome.
Man,
said it a couple of times.
Still, this game is close. Army supply is definitely in favor of Revival, though.
Yeah, wow, and this is the moment where Hyun decides to go up too high.
That's an interesting choice of what to spend your money on.
Contaminate being used on this side of the map now as well. Hyun does have that macro hatch, which I do not think that Revival has, unless I'm mistaken. No, Hyun is like, or Revival's like, son, my inject is so good. I don't need no macro hatch. Ain't nobody got time for that. No money.
Revival supply just ballooning right now. He's gone up to about 175 supply.
It's of course hard for Revival to make that call. I'm sure that he has a pretty good feeling about this game, and he must have realized that that final attack definitely went his way, but eventually it was not enough to straight up win the game, and you don't want to throw away a lead. And it has happened to every Zerg player at least 100 times in their career, where they were pretty far ahead in ZVZ, but then thought they were actually further ahead than they really were, and end up losing the game. So he's still careful about it, but he's pretty much maxed out, and I think as soon as these units spawn, Ben, Revival is going to make his way across the map again. Despite that 5th base going up, he has to know that...
Yeah, I mean, he's maxed out, and when you're maxed out, you have to start kind of recycling units, otherwise you're just allowing your opponent to catch up. You're never going to get more ahead than having 200 supply against less than that.
Especially not if you're sitting on the same army compositions with the same upgrades.
Yep. Interestingly, Hyun's going to make Vipers.
He's going to abduct some Hydras.
It's almost, come over here, almost certainly for Blinding Cloud.
I know, Ben, I was kidding.
But
there was one guy out there right now who's like, oh my god, of course he's not going to abduct an Hydra.
He's going to dump the Overseer, and then he's going to burrow. He's going to be like, hi, can attack.
If that happens, Ben, I'll give you $50.
If that happens, it'll be an accident. Now, Blinding Cloud is weird in how it works in these kinds of fights, because
it pushes the units forward.
It does, and so it makes it so many units can't fight, but they don't. When you're under Blinding Cloud, you don't just stop. The AI makes your units naturally move away from Blinding Cloud. So
Vipers are not really ready yet. I guess they're abducting or leeching energy somewhere. Yes, they are. Of the Hydralisk den, out of all places. That's a
Revival doing a good job of splitting things up here. And perhaps he's spotted these Vipers. Hyun is going to force a fight. And this is a good fight for Hyun because he's got his whole army against just a piece of Revival's army.
Okay, now Hyun is not leaving enough units behind, Ben. He's going to lose all these roads.
He's going to rely on Blinding Cloud on the ramp here, as Hyun has been forced to split things up. And that's a great Blinding Cloud that actually makes this into a fight that Revival can't take unless he backs up and forces Hyun's units into Blinding Cloud, which is very smart and does a good job of using Hyun's spells against him there. It's 140 supply against 193, seemingly an overwhelming lead here for Revival.
Yeah. I'm afraid that Hyun just was a little too far behind, Ben. He's going to drop some more Blinding Clouds. Those are, once again, pretty good Blinding Clouds. Going to force Revival to disengage. But during all this, Hyun has just lost so many drones throughout this entire game. He doesn't have a whole lot of money in the bank, because right now it shows us below 100 minerals. He was not able to mine from this base because of the multi-prong aggression by Revival.
I would have much rather seen speed and Banelings instead of Vipers in this situation. I think it's a better choice.
Yeah. I think it was hard for Hyun regardless. I think you're down, you try to make something happen. He's going to have +3 before his opponent.
If units didn't automatically move out from under Blinding Cloud, it would be much more
So what you're saying is
effective.
you want to see Fungal Grove and Blinding Cloud?
No.
Well, yes.
But I think you should tell the unit to move. It shouldn't move by itself.
Oh, that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
I was just speaking about the best case scenario, man. I thought you were going to agree with me. I thought you'd be like, yeah, that's so sick, man. He didn't do that.
Well, I mean, now that you mention it.
You lost your passion.
Now that you mention it. If we had a combination of Fungal and Blinding Cloud in one spell,
you would lose it.
that would be #flabbergasting.
Ooh, Vipers are mispositioned. They will get a couple of Blinding Clouds down.
But ultimately they're just not going to do anything, as the units are going to move right forward and will no longer be under the effect of that spell. And Revival will easily clean up the last of Hyun's units. But what a game that was. Very evenly matched, these two Zerg players. And man, there was 20, 25